What's up, everybody? This is Mason Plumlee back with another episode. Today we have Austin Barone from Just Play on. Just Play is software that streamlines how coaches create content, integrate data, and share preparation content to their players and their staff. It's something that we use with the Nuggets, and they put everything on one app to manage the entire organization. So let's bring on Austin and learn more about Just Play.
Hey Mason, really appreciate you hopping on. It's exciting to connect with not only a current client and current user, but somebody who's really active in both the entrepreneurship and the sports space, which is the realm that we live in.
Appreciate it, man. Well, for the viewers, me and Austin connected a couple of years ago. Was it during training camp or early in the season when you were getting us set up as a team? And it's been interesting. Just Play works with over 600 teams now. Is that right? And two of them are Duke and Denver. So he's got the highest class organizations working with him. Why don't you, they heard from me, but why don't you explain how Just Play is empowering teams and helping coaches communicate with players?
Sure. So I'll kind of take you back to the beginning. And our story starts, I played college football at the University of Kansas under a guy by the name of Charlie Weiss, Super Bowl winning coach. He was our head coach, and he is very much identified as an old school coach. We had a binder that was about this thick. Every player had one, and in today's day and age, there's just a little bit of a disconnect between coaches and players in terms of how they consume content. And so what Just Play aims to do is bridge the gap between the two generations. Provide coaches with tools that are easy to use to create playbooks, scouting reports, research data and analytics, integrate with any of the existing workflow and video tools that they use to be able to provide the players with an experience to give the right content to the right athlete at the right time. So, whether you're somebody that was just signed or a freshman that is coming in, you can have a completely separate set of content to prepare than maybe the veterans that are coming back that are a little bit more fluent and proficient in the system that coach is talking about.
Right. So just to share with the viewers, like when we use the Just Play app, I use it before games. I'll watch scouting reports on personnel matchups. There's an analytics breakdown of where their team scores from, which guys are foul prone. There's all kinds of insights from the analytics. Can you talk a little bit about how analytics have changed every sport, in particular basketball, and how you see that affecting the sport going forward?
Sure. I think that you're right. Basketball has definitely been on the forefront of kind of the analytics movement. And I think that you're starting to see that the data is becoming more available. Before it was a lot harder to have the data, to break it down, to get the insights. And now as the data is becoming more available, you're starting to see teams have, data and analytics, positions where they can really break down a lot of the information to provide it to the teams and the players in a more consumable way. And, I think that you're starting to see that a lot in football with some of the companies that are popping up there. And I think, the other sport that we work in, Lacrosse, is still very much in its infancy, but they look to basketball and the wave that the basketball has created and the momentum that they've created is kind of what they aspire to be in the realm of analytics. I think what's interesting as we play our part in providing the data to coaches in a consumable way is there's kind of two different trains of thought. There are the coaches that absolutely rely on it, and then there are the coaches that maybe don't necessarily trust it. And, I think in the next 5 to 7 years, you're going to really start to see a lot of the coaches shift to maybe at least the middle ground where, I've been a coach for 30 years. I don't need data to tell me what I can see with my own two eyes.
Right.
But what it's going to do is it's going to confirm what they're seeing and maybe help them make that decision a little bit faster.
Yeah, for sure. So to me, just the trend that I've seen in the NBA, there are organizations who can't move without the analytics, right? Like they're so wed to the numbers that they can't even draft a player or sign a player in free agency if he doesn't fit exactly what they do. And then to me, I've seen coaches who, they want to know, they want insight, they want to see the numbers. And if it supports something that they already have, if they can pull a stat out of their back pocket and throw it in your face to tell you, why you should or shouldn't do something, they love it. But they just want the visibility to it. And then ultimately they decide whether they share it with the team or, because it's just so much information. Sometimes it can be too much. But what I've realized is now everybody wants to at least know what it is. And then what they do with it after the fact is up to them. And I think a lot of that goes into like coaching philosophy. So can you share, so you guys cover football, lacrosse, and basketball currently, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you guys have plans to go into other sports?
We definitely do. How we got into lacrosse is kind of interesting. Basically, we had a handful of teams on the East Coast, basketball teams that were using us. And, in smaller colleges, the D1 colleges, you've got, offices that are right next to each other. And all these lacrosse coaches started calling us saying, hey, my basketball coach uses this. Can I use it too? Like, we need a way to teach our players. And one thing led to another, and we started to go into lacrosse. But other sports are definitely on our radar. Like, I think hockey is a really kind of close sport to, the flow motion sports of basketball and lacrosse. And I think, soccer and baseball are really interesting opportunities as well, because of the club, the club organization and how it's built from, your youth to your international competition to your premier clubs. And there's such a development model there that a platform like ours, in terms of being able to methodically teach athletes and keep everything transparent within the organization, I think is a really valuable piece. It's just, for us, it's a matter of, we want to really own football, basketball, and lacrosse. And then as those opportunities come up, we'll spread out.
And what is it? What's the engagement like pro level versus collegiate? And do you have any amateur or high school teams?
We do. A couple of years ago, we made the decision to really focus on the professional and the Division I college program, because, one, they have the budget to be able to afford this, but they also have the resource budget in terms of time. A high school coach, they're dads and teachers, and they've got all of these other responsibilities, whereas in the college and the pros, like, this is their job. And so they really have kind of the amount of time and kind of thought process in terms of how this needs to be put together, because we built this platform on an NFL style playbook with an NFL style organization, and so it lends itself nicer to the collegiate and pro space. But we have easy to use tools that high school coaches want to pick up as well. So
gotcha. I had to go on mute. Chester's a big fan of Just Play. We got a child that goes nuts whenever people come over.
Sure.
So all right, so that's great. It's all right, so let me give you a question from the audience, and then I want to jump back into some other questions. Alex Mayer asks, can you talk about the platform? What does it look like? How much input does it require? Or do you upload video and get stats similar to other products out there? What is the difference between Just Play and the competition?
Sure. So I think that we may have a product slide. Doug,
yeah, let's see if we can pull that up.
The second slide, maybe. But I think the biggest difference that you're going to find with Just Play is that, we insert ourselves in the workflow end. So, our biggest competitors in the market are going to be tools like PowerPoint and Microsoft Visio and Microsoft Word. And yeah, there's other platforms out there for, video sharing or, data and analytics. But our goal is, people want one platform. Like, coaches want to give all of the content to the athletes in one platform, so they're not having to hop around. And the value that we can bring is that we bring all of these tools into one spot. So, we have relationships with all of the big data providers in the space, whether it's, Stats or Genius or, whoever it may be, to feed our platform the data, the play-by-play data and the shot chart data and the lineup data and all that stuff. So then coaches can can manipulate the data however they want to fit their needs. One of the best things that kind of we offer is we meet coaches and players in their realm so that they can engage with the content or create the content in their atmosphere, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'll tell, just to go off that, Alex, one of the neat things like our video guy did with The Last Dance being so popular right now, he went and put the whole championship run of the Bulls on our Just Play app. So, we have, you can put, I mean, if it's on film, you can put it on the app.
Yep.
I want you to share with us, I heard an interesting story about your pitch to Coach Malone, my coach with the Nuggets, and Jordy Fernandez. So sure. I want you to share that with us. And then I want to share something with the audience who's thinking about using the app.
Sure. So it would have been, I guess, the summer after the 17-18 season. The Nuggets, you had a great season, had 46 wins, came up, too short of making the playoffs. And coincidentally,
really one game, because that was when we lost to Minnesota, game 82, right?
Right. Yeah. So really one game, and we had a really unique stat from that past season that on average teams that used Just Play increased their win count by 2 wins, which when we said that, Coach Malone's eyebrow kind of lifted and said, I don't know if this is true or not, but you guys, if we end up picking this up, we're going to find out if it is. Yeah. And the next year, the 18-19 season, you guys had a great run, 8 more wins, went to the playoffs. It was a really cool opportunity to kind of take a stat that we use to pitch teams and then actually prove that and see that really come to fruition, and the value that can create for an organization.
And then when we brought it in after we won the Northwest Division, Coach was like, 1, 2, 3, just play. And it was like, that was the reason.
That's awesome.
No, I'm messing with you. But all right, so this is interesting. What we did not know as players, and we found out after a year and a half of using Just Play, is that the coaches know when you log in, when you view the content, and how much you're interacting with the app.
Yeah. So
should we not be broadcasting that, or what?
It depends. I mean, I think it's a valuable accountability piece, and really, that's all sports is about, really. Like, we want to prepare and we want to be able to pull our teammates along that might not necessarily want to prepare in the way that we want to. And, the kind of the data shows that Just Play does help players and teams, develop and win games. And, we kind of leave it up to the organization to determine whether or not they want to share that or not. But,
well, we share it. I'm the whistleblower on the
sure.
This founder series is because, and it was funny when we found that out. I had the discussion. We had a kid, Tom Welsh, who's great, played at UCLA, and he watched everything, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of the assistants. I was like, look, I played against DeAndre Jordan now probably 25 times. We went 6 games in the playoffs. We played him in the preseason. We played him for, when I was in the Western Conference, we've just played each other. I was like, me watching film on DeAndre Jordan in year 9 of his career is not as valuable. Now, what I do appreciate about the app is I can, like, rookies or, first, second year guys, or a guy that's really hot, I can go and check out what they're doing. But I had to let them know why I'm not watching every player on the app. But anyway.
No, I mean, that makes sense. And to your point, especially in the NBA, there might be a little bit of diminishing returns in terms of time spent. Like, yes, if you played a guy a bunch of times, his tendencies, you might not necessarily need that. But, where it is really valuable is maybe an in-season trade happens and you've got an impact player that needs to come in and get up to speed in Coach Malone's system ASAP. All of that content can be shared, while he's en route to, joining the club, and then, in the days leading up to the first game. So,
yeah, I'll tell you, one of my favorite features that we haven't had before is the ability to download on the app and then watch it without Wi-Fi. Because a lot of us, we play the game, we get on the plane, but from the bus to the plane, we can have our minutes. I typically don't watch the whole game. I just watch my minutes.
Sure.
Selfishly. So I'll download it. It's 15 minutes, and then I can watch it on the plane, and I don't have to worry if Delta's Wi-Fi is bad or whatever. So that's a great feature. Yeah. Another question from the audience, is any one sport easier to apply deep data analysis to than others?
I think basketball is leading that front, and that's simply because access to it is more available. Like what they've done in football with like the wearables is really exciting, but that data is heavily controlled by the NFL.
Yeah.
And so I think that you're going to start to see more and more that open up and them kind of want to see what people can do with it. But I think basketball is more of a blue ocean in terms of what people are using it now for.
Gotcha. What's the next steps? You have a lot of basketball, football. You're introducing yourselves to lacrosse. Is there are you going to improve on functionality? Are you just trying to grow the user base? What does the go forward look like for Just Play?
I think it's a combination of two things. I mean, we are constantly improving, the user experience. We have a completely new app that's rolling out this summer that's going to have a bunch of improvements, that you and I can talk about separately. But that's a big piece of it. The other piece is trying to add more teams. Sometimes it's helpful that coaches change jobs so often, because we get to kind of grow organically, with them as they go to new clubs and new teams. But, just trying to dive deeper into football, basketball, and lacrosse, and finding ways to, grow the game is kind of really what our focus is on now.
So we have a question from a college lacrosse coach. Jesse Hayek asks, what opportunities do you see in lacrosse? I'm a coach, curious how much the lacrosse community has embraced it.
So I think one of maybe the best stories that we can talk about in terms of how the lacrosse world has embraced it is 3D Lacrosse. They're a group out of Denver. They're a huge club organization, but the lacrosse game is growing so fast. The rules are changing. There's a lot of people that are getting in. So being able to have a platform where you can really teach the game and teach coaches, players. We have referees that use the platform as well to kind of better understand rule changes as they come up.
You don't work with Monty McCutcheon, do you?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. He oversees all the NBA officials, but he's great. He's awesome. Anyway, go ahead, sir.
I mean, there are a ton of applications that people can use Just Play for, because really at the foundation of what it is you're guiding people through content. When it comes to playbooks and diagrams, you're using animated diagrams paired with video, but you can use slides and PowerPoints and stuff like that as well, interlaced with the video to better teach. So I'd love to set up coach with one of our lacrosse members and get them on a demo and kind of talk through the value there.
Great. And we'll run Austin's contact at the end of the broadcast. I have another audience question. Stephen Aldridge asks, what's the biggest difference between this and Synergy Sports? He also asks, Mason, does your staff provide player accounts for you guys to watch film or Synergy prior to Just Play? So we strictly use Just Play. There aren't a lot of other platforms that, I would say the other tech that's used by us is like the Catapult system or things that track motion and what our load is. So there's some camera solutions for that. And then there's also some wearable technology. But in terms of, game plan, video content, analytics, Just Play is all that we use. But sorry
Sure.
I'll let you answer the question about difference between this and Synergy.
So Synergy is a great video breakdown solution and a video editing solution. What we do is we allow you to take that content and better teach your athletes with it. So, a lot of teams at the collegiate level will use Synergy to basically download all the players' clips, throw it on the app, and then players can go in and they can filter by, I want to see all of my made shots. I want to see all my missed twos or my turnovers. It makes it easier for the athletes when the two can connect. And so you can take all of the great data that you've tagged or broken down in Synergy and pull that into Just Play to be able to deliver to your athletes.
Gotcha. So another question I would ask is, how do you see, I referenced Catapult. We had another founder on the series, Nathan Ramasara, founder of FormSense, and I think his solution is great. But there are all these options for tracking load, body movement. How do you see yourselves collaborating going forward? Is that something that's valuable information that be shared on your platform? Are training schedules on like in the books for Just Play? Like I'm just thinking, how do you integrate with like the strength and conditioning people, the sports science group? Is that of interest, or do you just want to leave those separate?
No, I mean, I think Just Play is we're passionate about helping coaches and helping organizations. We can throw as many ideas at a white wall and try to sell it to teams as we want, but where we get the real value is by talking to coaches and helping solve more problems. And you brought up an interesting point with the strength and conditioning staff. We have a lot of college teams right now because of COVID and social distancing that it's created. They're putting their workouts on our platform. So they might have a slide that talks through what the set is going to be, and then they've got a video of their strength coach actually doing it, so then they can see what the form and technique really does need to be like. Specifically in regard to your comment on like catapult data and whatnot, I think that Just Play is uniquely positioned in the market to connect all of these pieces, because we're already doing it with everything else. It's just kind of one extra piece that we can bring in. And one of our products that is more front office facing, but our draft board piece really allows coaches and teams to manage their existing roster. Any at the college level, it would be recruits or transfers. At the NBA level and WNBA level, it would be the free agency market and their team. But we have a product that allows them to kind of manage all of that workflow as well. And so really the next piece is just kind of adding that catapult or Kinexon data to flow in there as well.
I'll tell you what, I appreciate that, because I'm just thinking of our solution given the pandemic. Like they sent us another fitness app that had the videos and all that, but like the more like, I don't want a Slack channel, I don't want a group text and a Just Play and a workout. Like it just ends up being too much. I can't have 5 apps for my job. So it's nice to have everything in one place. Give some advice to founders. First of all, how long have you been going at this? When did Just Play start?
So I graduated in December of 2015, and we went full go in January of 2016. So we're going on year 5.
Year 5. And so you built a nice business. I'm assuming it's subscription model from the teams. Yep. It's really impressive what you've been able to do. Share what you've learned along the way with our viewers.
I think the biggest thing that I take away is, one, don't be afraid to fail. Step out of your comfort zone. Startups are hard. Life is hard. And if the power of being in a startup is you have the ability to create your own momentum. You're not relying upon somebody else or waiting for somebody to kind of create something for you. You really have the power to create. And I think the second piece is stay even keel with it. Startups are a roller coaster. You have days where you're on the highest of highs, and there are days where it's the lowest of lows. Like I can remember the practice that I came in and met you guys for the first time. Out of nowhere, I'm just standing there in a Just Play shirt, and Mason Plumlee walks over, daps me up, and says, Just Play is awesome. Like that's a really cool experience. I don't care who you are. Charles Class to kind of pull me aside and talk about how much he likes, Just Play is beneficial. Or Jordy.
Charles likes to know who's doing their homework. That's what Charles likes to know.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Or honestly, like the relationship that we built with Jordy, and the fact that he introduced us to the Spanish national team, and they go and win a FIBA World Cup, using Just Play. Right. All of those pieces are super exciting stuff that we were able to create on our own. And so that's the power of being in a startup and kind of taking that leap of faith.
That's great. Also, we love you, Charles. I'm glad that you're our coach with the Nuggets. Austin, this is great. Let's show your contact information one more time. I think we have some coaches in the audience. We have some players that might want to share this with their teams. Great what you're doing. This was an easy one because I've seen the benefit to it. on our own team, and continued success, and look forward to see what you do next.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you.
Thanks, Austin.